Commissions or getting paid more has always been something that's been super important to Brian, and couldn't be happier that he's here today to share his expertise with all of you guys, and I'm really hopeful that some of his tips and tools will help you guys all to make more money going down the road. So here you go, Brian.
I'm going to try this without this, guys. So tell me if you can't hear me, but I'm usually loud enough for people to hear. So today I want to just go over, we're going to be talking about really different functions of your value proposition, you know, getting paid what I think you deserve, especially working for a company like the agency. I've been around for over 30 years, and I can tell you there's something special happening here that doesn't happen at most other offices, okay? So I also want to point out, we'll go over some conversation that you can have, different ways of proceeding with this. So let me ask you guys, are you guys up against commission? Is this an issue for you guys? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So a couple of years ago, I've been hearing a bunch of people, like there's different comments that come up, and you know, one of the things people will say, I got this right here, oh, here we go. You know, commissions are negotiable, right? You know, so if I say I want a certain commission, people come to me and go, oh, they're negotiable. Yeah, well, my commission doesn't have to be. Okay, I decide what I'm valued at, what I'm worth. And I want to start off with that understanding that, you know, everybody thinks that they're negotiable, so I have to decide to come down, I have to alter this. No, you get paid what you feel you deserve to get paid, okay? You know, there's attorneys that get $150 an hour, there's other attorneys that get $2,000 an hour, and then you usually get what you pay for. So we tracked it a couple years ago. I'm new to the agency by about 4 months, but a couple of years ago I tracked what percentage of the time I got 6%. It was 80% of the time in that year, okay? So I think a lot of you guys also are looking at the MLS and you're seeing all these 2.5%, and you're assuming, am I incorrect? You know, shout it out if I'm wrong, but are you assuming that every listing out there is pretty much at 5% because they're at 2.5?
No.
No? Okay, but you guys have that kind of presumption? Yeah? We got a few people? Okay. Well, the reality is that when somebody gets 6%, they're usually putting in now at 3.5, 2.5, okay? And you'll find that a lot of that, you know, is when agents are out there, and I'll point this out again, but when agents are asking for 60%, you know, or 6%, excuse me, they normally get it, you know, anywhere from 50 to 75% of the time, simply because that's what they ask for, okay? So some of the things we'll talk about, you know, keeping the focus on you, not the commission at the moment, okay? Until you've established your value proposition with somebody, for somebody to jump on you and say to you, oh, you know, what's your commission? Well, you don't even know anything about what I'm going to provide, what I'm going to do as far as service. So I always like, until the homeowner is ready to commit, to like at least meeting with you, because if you're going out there and you're on the phone, what's your commission, and they're deciding on commission, that's not a benefit to that owner. Wouldn't you agree that if you're just coming across the table and somebody is, you could be with a discount broker, you know, that is not going to do the level of work that I would expect you guys are doing? Is that good for that owner to make that assumption that there's a set price on their property, and it's not, okay? You'll see different people achieve different values on properties. And so you want to establish and have that time with them so that when you sit down with them and then you've established your value and you put forth everything and you saw whether there's that proper connection. Every one of you is going to connect with an owner differently than I would, okay? So I'll elaborate on that, goes towards your value proposition, okay? So first thing to do though is really try to get in front of people and not address the commission until, you know, they've got something to value you on. Oh, what happened? There we go. Let's see. Okay, see, and then we talk value proposition, right? You know, there's some aspects that, you know, greater preparation on the property, greater exposure to the property, greater demand, you know, that you create. And again, I will tell you that, like, I was not asked to pitch the agency, but being around for 30 years, there's really something different. The connectivity here, the fact that when you get a listing, it is really supported by the agency, okay? So you're at a 6% firm, you know what I mean? You're at a firm that you should be getting 6%, okay? And I'm telling you flat out, the level of what is provided to that homeowner is valued at that. But you have to embrace that, right? You go out there, you have to know that you're providing that value. And some of the things that I would tell you is that when you know that you're doing that, again, you're going to have no problem saying, yeah, here's my fee, and valuing yourself at that. And other areas of value comes from different things, expertise, right? we have years in that, but sometimes you gather expertise from a lot of different areas. Some people come from interior design, they come from construction, they come from other elements that benefit the homeowner in unique ways. So it doesn't have to be that you've been in this business for 30 years. And you can have other local knowledge. You know, a lot of times when people are in the business for a while, they kind of wane away from really digging into figures and numbers and stats. And so you guys coming in, if you're new to the game, there's nothing stopping you from knowing the market better than anybody, the one that you're digging in. You know, knowing what that house sold, what's the off-market price, what's been going on in the neighborhood. So you can really benefit and have your own value proposition in those regards. Your skill, right? Do you have a good eye for prepping a home? Do you know the key elements of what it takes, where the owner should make improvements to the property? We had one property we took over in Culver City. It's a perfect example because you can get an ineffective agent factually and get 10% less than what would be an average price, and an effective agent could get 10% more. And it was a property I took over in Culver City, just that. The stats on that one were, I came to the listing, it was listed for $1,595,000. It sold, the previous didn't sell, the previous agent could only get an offer of $1.4 million from the owner's words. Within a week after we prepped it, did all the design, did some changes, mild changes, about $10,000 worth of work and doing subtle, we got $1.7 million. Okay, so it's not always that way, but just to show you that there's a difference that could be made by you guys, and you need to value yourselves. So keep that in mind when you're going out there, and we'll talk a little more on value proposition. I would like, hopefully, you guys to engage a little more in that, because those are things that are very unique to you, and we can start talking about that. Raising your standards, okay? Overall, all of a sudden, when you start getting to this level where you're getting what I believe you to be the value you should be getting for what you do, then you start raising your standards. You know, your market knowledge, you should be improving, home preparation. And then when you're getting paid, what I say is the money you should be paid, then you have more to invest, marketing-wise, doing other things that benefit that owner. Because we're not talking here about just getting more money without value. We want to bring even more value to that owner. But we also want to, like I encourage the fact that when you are doing a great job, that's the free market where you're getting more and then you're providing more. And that's what makes things better, okay? So all these areas, dramatically reducing risk. We dramatically reduce risk to the homeowner for a lot of reasons, whether it's working through the contract, working with disclosures, helping the owner guide them through this process, because you know how many pitfalls there can be if there was nobody involved in this. Okay, so you guys, and you could say, well, all agents do that. Well, maybe they do and maybe they don't, but if you're doing it and you're at top of your game, these are all areas where you're helping the owner, mastering your negotiations. And by the way, if you can't negotiate and can't show your value proposition, I think it's also a problem to say to the owner, I'm going to show how much your property is valued when I'm negotiating to get you the best price. So it helps their thought process too, to show that you can address value, and especially your own. So knowing your presentation and your dialogues, those are very important, because you should have, when you come forward, you don't necessarily have to have anything written, but knowing your presentation, knowing where these values are. And if you need to find them, listen, pick up the phone, call me. Because on any one of you, I can pinpoint things that I will tell you are going to be valuable to that owner. Like I say, some of the newer guys, you guys are hungry. Sometimes when people are in the business a while or have a lot that they're handling, they're not going to put the same attention in one property, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay? You guys can have that value proposition. The way you connect with somebody. I have a certain way of presenting myself. And it doesn't mean that that clicks with everybody, but you can have somebody where you make them very comfortable. They might be looking for certain aspects that they trust. All these elements that is worth more in a lot of occasions. There's occasions I've gotten 9% commission. Do you hear me? Okay? I've got that on short sales, and believe me, it was a bargain to the person, that I was providing the service to. But there is no set price. We just did a lease that had 10% commission. Okay? So you look and you look at these areas where you're providing value, and then it's up to you what you think your worth is. And I'll give you an example. There was an interesting article years ago, but it's still poignant. The owner of ForSaleByOwner.com, I don't know, did you guys ever hear of this? But ForSaleByOwner.com, okay, he listed his house on his website, couldn't sell it at $2 million, okay? Ultimately, an agent came He listed it with the agent. Guess what? 6%. Okay? The agent took the listing, got it sold, multiple offers, 7.5% above what he was asking when he couldn't get any offers. Okay? So that agent more than paid for himself on so many levels. Not only did he get him a better price, but did he manage the whole process? Everything. All the things that we do. Okay, so it's just an example that we do bring value. And there's statistics that you probably will find out there years ago. They were out there about the differences between for sale by owner, discount brokerages, okay, and then ultimately what a high-end or full-service brokerage gets. And it's this, you could see it, that the value is there, okay? So just one little article, you can look it up. It's still online. Some of the talking points to the owners. Is this taking time to reload? There we go. One of it, here's a big one, right? You work for free until you produce the results that they want. Are we clear on that? Yes? Yeah. Do we get paid if we don't sell the house? No. Come on, guys, let me hear you. No. Right? Okay? We don't get paid, so legitimately, if somebody's coming to me and saying, hey, I need you to cut your fee, I haven't performed for you yet. Let's establish what we believe value is, and if I exceed those expectations, I've earned my fee. If I haven't, then maybe we can talk, okay? But you're working for free until that time comes, and this is one of my dialogue points. I'm working for free for you until I produce a result you're happy with. If we got a property that's priced at $5 million and I get $1 less, they're not obligated to me, okay? It could be a negotiation. I dissuade from that, but if it ever comes to that at a bottom line, you're working for free until you've made that result happen. So it's a very important understanding with the owner, okay? Like I've mentioned, the 10%, very effective agents can get 10% more for a property. You agree with that, right? You understand that property values are not set. Yes? Okay, because there's not a set price. Anybody's just going to put a property up at a certain price and then they're going to get that price. That's not how it works. The connectivity, like even through the agency, like having the connectivity, you get to right people who would be perfect purchasers for that property, and that you guys have that access. I mean, I can tell you, I've been taking advantage of a lot of stuff the agency has to offer, and it's every aspect of what I need has been getting fulfilled, so I'm really excited about that. So keep in mind, you might, like we just had the 2.0, the Connect, that just came out. I mean, the services and stuff on there, I felt like a lot of people were unaware of that stuff. So this higher level stuff that helps to get your property sold, and you know that if you just get one extra buyer, let's say one buyer to buy the property, but what if you get two and now they're competing? You know that's going to push the price higher, and it's going to create a much more effective sale to that owner. And so just that little touch makes a huge difference. Okay. And this is what I had reflected on before, that if you're not willing to establish your value up front, how will they be equipped to negotiate on your behalf, when it comes to getting the best value for the home? Or if an issue pops up. Okay, so often I've dealt with competition that I've had in certain marketplaces. They're overloaded with properties. They put people on a production line. Just the reality of it. Here's how we run the system. If anything comes off of that, if there's issues pop up, they're not really dug into. There's not a lot of effort, a lot of times that are put in. And so if somebody comes to somebody and say, yeah, I'll take the listing at 4.5, which is a lot. I'm getting a lot of that. So know that too. Some of my top competition, which are in the very high echelons of the realtor community, they'll try to take down the listing at 4.5, but I'm still getting my fee that I feel I'm valued at. Okay, and so understand that they'll put it on a production line. If some issue comes up, they might, because they're just gonna, let's take the offer. It's the best we're gonna get. Okay, and somebody should really be cognizant of that. If the first thing out of their mouth says, yeah, I'm just gonna reduce my fee because I want to buy your listing, and not really produce a result that's going to make you feel like we've done the best job for you. So again, when I've produced great results, then I've earned every bit of my commission. Okay, and you can establish that. I had another meeting like this. We did it at the Brentwood office. So I said to myself, I was kind of a little in the mix of making a transition from one company to here. And I said, there was a developer I had, right? And I said, why am I not getting my 6% from this developer if I produce the right results for them? I end up getting 6%. okay, on one listings. Now, how many developers do you know that are going at 6%? The people who are, you find a property developed and then putting it on the market. And this is a mainstream one. It's not like one-off. But we ended up, we're hopefully going under contract at a much higher price than they had projected for me to get. But now I've earned my value, and I wouldn't have gotten it if I didn't ask. I simply asked. And I did put that one on a sliding scale. So if we produced a result that wasn't as good, then I took a lower fee. But I certainly, we'll talk the percentages too. You really gotta look and be clear on what the kind of money you're throwing away by just taking 1%. It's not 1%, it's huge, huge difference. So here's some of the differences. Now, first off, if somebody's coming in, you could just take a normal difference between 6 and 5, okay? So the difference there, you say, it's 1% difference, but here's the difference in the commission, okay? It's $10,000 right off the bat, okay? Now, I don't know if how you run your business, because you are entrepreneurs, you're business people, okay? You have fixed costs, you have costs you invest in the property, you have costs that get thrown away because maybe a property doesn't sell for whatever reason. And you gotta calculate all this into every transaction you do. You have liability to the transaction, so every transaction you get involved with, there's these value things that you have to be aware that you need to get paid for. If there are times when things shift in the market and maybe you're working 4 times as hard to make half as much, you gotta calculate for these things, okay? So here though, this is a huge difference in simply by not asking and valuing yourself. You know, and then it goes to this, it's a 40% difference. Not 40% difference. Okay, from if you made 25 and then instead made 35, that's a 40% increase. That's pretty big, huh? No?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. So, you know, why just drop why would you just drop automatically from that level? If we go where some brokers and you decide I'm going to compete with somebody, they're taking a 4.5, I'll just take, because you're only going to give 2. By the way, if you ever offer less than 2.5 to the buying side, you're hurting that owner. Period. All these guys who try to do that, the Culver City one I was talking about, that's exactly what they did. They were offering like 4, I think it was 4%. The owner said that they were charging, and of course I didn't take it. But that person was giving 2 to the other side, and that's going to kill the buy side. No matter what anybody says, it makes a huge difference. So let's say you're only taking 2%, okay? Now it's a 1% difference. Okay, look, yeah, there's $15,000. That's a 75% reduction to what you could have been getting. I mean, do you think that's real? I mean, hopefully you guys can understand, again, like I say, the whole environment that you're around and the quality of the people that everybody I see that I've so far seen working with the agency carries themselves at a higher level. You guys are worth it, okay? But 75% reduction, there's something wrong if you feel that you have to go to that level. And I'm gonna say this, how much time would you think, first off, the owner's not valuing very much what you are able to do for them. So when you're working your butt off, there's a good chance they're not gonna appreciate it, okay? There's a good chance they're not gonna value that. Then you're gonna take a listing. So you could take 2 of these listings, I take 1 and I make about the same as you did. Okay, but then I'm working with somebody who values me, I'm doing the level of what I wanna provide to somebody, okay? There was another big deal on Mulholland that I had taken. And I had worked with some top level guys, I brought them in with the deal, and the previous agent had that one at 4%. And then we worked it, got the deal, the owner said, yeah, I'm ready to sign up. I said, let me deal with the commission and the contract. So I called the guys up and go, hey, I got 6%, just so you know, one of all the other factors on it. And they're like, what? And I was surprised to hear that they seemingly never would go for that, and that they were surprised that this really top level agent was only getting it at 4, how do we get it at this? And that one I did end up doing a sliding scale, but I still had the opportunity to get the 6%. I just feel it makes you look better, right? When you say, hey, here's this watch, but I'll dump the price on it, right off the bat. The value of it goes down. But when you say, even if you're coming off your commission, but when you start at a level of saying, yeah, I normally get, this is what I look to get at 6%, and then you come off of it, there's a lot of value in dealing with that, and I'll talk a little more on it. But you can see the difference here. I mean, it's just huge. It's more than you need to go. So alternatives to just dropping your commission 1%, okay? There's alternatives to falling back, and I do like I said, there's a sliding scale. stop negotiating down the full 1%, okay, if you have to. You know, try to go to a quarter point. Look at the numbers, right? It's not just a quarter point. Try to go where you're only down 5% on what you normally earn. That's how you have to think about it. I'm going to discount this guy 5% of my fee. And I was pointing out I had like a financial planner who I thought was a good guy. You know, he comes to me and says, well, I'm going to cut my fee. And the minute he said it, I'm thinking, you know, I might have a problem here. You know, that's how I felt, me. Because I'm thinking, if you make me, you know, 20% a year, let's say hypothetically, take more. You make me lose money, then take less. You know, it's kind of like, you didn't do anything for me yet. Show me what you can do. And so, same thing here. You got to establish that with people. So do a sliding scale even. So what does that mean? That means if you take the list and you say, what's our expectation of value? And try to know this going in. You got to be prepped for this because you got to know what you think is the average value. Like where would be an average price? Because then you can say, well, will I be able to achieve this? And understand this, that like on the one deal where I got the extra 1%, it's like 30 grand. So all I had to do was get the guy 35 grand or 40 grand or something like that to make myself more valuable. But oftentimes it's going to be like 50 grand, let's say, and then he's making that extra, that percentage. But he's making more by my service to them, okay? So that's how you do it. You'll set it up where it's, you know, 6, 5.5 even, 5, but in between, do the dialogue. So also, well, we just went to sliding scale. That was the whole thing. We'll talk, I'm sure people may have some more questions. We'll talk more about that. So some of the things that from the last meeting I found a lot of people, the value proposition was something that wasn't clicking with them, okay? Because you guys, you know, you might look at somebody and like, yeah, I've got a lot of years in the business and then I got, you know, and then you might look at it and go, well, I don't think I should be able to say I'm worth as much as this other person. But you are, okay? Because again, you have to find that value in you. Are you that hungry person? Are you the guy that really knows how to put the property together and present it and do it outright? And again, the more you charge, okay, the more value you should be able to provide the person that you're dealing with, the client, okay? So I really would love, I don't know who's got Detroit, but we're gonna go into some questions now, okay? And did you want to get that? You get it? Okay. So if you guys got some questions, but I really want to talk more on like if you have questions about your value proposition. Does anybody have a question? Dare to raise a hand? Yeah.
Not a question, but a comment. I noticed you had a quote from Steve Schell, who I coach with as well. Were you going to talk about Chris Voss? You know, the Chris Voss negotiating?
Well, Chris, yeah. No, I mean, you could talk about Chris Voss. Chris Voss's talks primarily, his book is called Don't Split the Difference. But if you have any special, I did read the book. There's a lot in the book. You know, I will tell you this. I like Chris Voss in the book. If you ever want a meat and potatoes book, it's called Power Negotiating. It's just meat and potatoes, and it's a real easy read, and it picks up, because Chris is it's a higher level for us, but if you need to start off with something, just want you to know Power Negotiating. It used to be called How Do You Get Anything You Want, but you have to do more next. Then the guy made it very simplistic and put tapes out. But you know, Chris's attitude is don't split the difference. Don't, you know, fundamentally, and there's key points in there, but you could point out one that you might want me to reflect on.
I mean, one of the things that I like is that you have a conversation with your client, and you know, if your client can out-negotiate you on the commission, or out-negotiate another agent on the commission, how is this person going to be as your advocate?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things I point out. They're not going to value. First off, you're right. Then you're not showing your wares. That you could effectively help them to get the best price, negotiate when we have these renegotiations that come back, obviously, when the house has gone through, you know, knowing how to mitigate that and then negotiating that as well. To me, there's three major value points: the price you put the property at, the negotiations on the purchase, and then the renegotiations. So those three areas, that they're all strategic as far as value pricing, okay? But I would tell you though that, again, for anybody in here, you bring something different to the table. Okay, we all have different backgrounds. We all have different ways of approaching things. Okay, and I find them all independently valuable. But to me, the job is to find those clients that respect that and value that. Okay. Now, I know a lot of times when you don't have a lot going on, you say, "Oh, Brian, it's really easy to, you know, try to stick to that." you can go at 6, but when I walk in the door and I say it's 6, and then you will, first off, you should just put it on your contract. If you believe in yourself enough, you're ready to go, have it written in, pre-typed on your contract. A lot of times it will never even come up because until you sell and prove your results, you know, they're like, I believe in you, I want you as my agent, and they're just gonna sign it. So that's number one. There usually isn't much more than that going on. And I say the percentage of the time you're gonna get that. Because if you've never been doing it, I mean, has everybody been doing this? I mean, like, am I talking to people, have you been putting these commissions on? Or, yeah, so we got a few, that's it. So if you even try it, you know, now when you get there and they say, oh, well, let's talk commission. Okay, well, let's talk. And then you have these, we've gone over your value proposition, you're ready to go. Well, what's your fee? 6%. Okay, a lot of times that's gonna work, that'd be enough. The one quote you saw from Steve Schul is he says most people, when they ask what your commission is, he says 99% of the time they get a reduction in commission simply because they ask that question. That's what he was saying.
So Brian, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I mean, it happens to me all the time, right? I go in and I give them my commission and then they say, well, you know, can you do 5%, you know, or, you know, your competition that was here right before you is, you know, said 5%, you know.
Right.
An important client, you know, Jay Mills,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, Aaron Kerman will do it 2%, but,
Yeah.
you know, forget that shit.
Yeah, what you pay for.
Right?
Yeah.
How do you?
Yeah, the first thing,
respond?
like, the first thing I go in and say, the first time that comes up, first off, I am absolutely gonna jump in and say, well, first off, I work for you for free. And this is one of the conversations, I've had that. People have said to me, people are, oh, the other agent offered me 4.5, and he said, now, I say to them, this is what I do, because hopefully we've gone through everything. Hopefully this person would say to you this, Mauricio, I see a difference in what you're presenting to me and the value you bring from the agency. So those are good comments. And then, but if they're not, it's like, well, what can I review with you? Because sometimes I will go over, let me explain, you know, where some of the key points I think my value is going to come in getting you a higher price. Because I'm working for free for you until I achieve that price.
Yes.
Then I would go to them like I did, because I'm all on deal for $8 million. He said the same thing. I said, well, look, what are you expecting on the property? And that time it was X amount of dollars, and then I said, great. If I get this, we would agree that this is just kind of an average price. Now, if I get this, I'd like to have at least the opportunity to get my 6%, the fee that I charge, okay? Then if he says, you know, like, okay, but I also offer up that if we're achieving a subpar number, I do that. And it usually works with people that understand that I'm putting my money where my mouth is. So if it's a real subpar offer, then I'll say I'll work with you on commission because I'm expecting a better price, and if I can't get it sold, I'll work with you. So those are some of the things that seem to open and broaden people's minds. And even if it's a top agent, like I said, he had other top agents coming after that listed. But the first thing I established was he wanted to work with us. And that's a big thing. So hopefully you've gone through the process and you've established your value. And again, I'd have no problem establishing the value with you and what you could bring to the table. So that's some of the things, the biggest thing that hits home usually with people is that I'm working for you for free until I produce a result. And then, you know, if you've established, like I said, all the other elements, that's been key. So doing the sliding scale if you need to.
I like that a lot. I never really thought about the, you know, I'm working for you for free until you finish. I think that's a brilliant statement, you guys. The other thing that I do sometimes is instead of the sliding scale, what I tell my client is that, you know, we're selling your house for $4 million, right? And I expect to get it for $4 million. But inevitably, when the other side is negotiating, we might get to a point where, you know, they're at 3.9, right? And we have $100,000 to make up, right? Let me, you know, the other side, all they want to know is they just want to know that they got a good deal. They love the house. They're willing to pay $4 million, but they want to know that they're not the asshole that didn't get a good deal. At that point, let me throw in $5,000, $10,000. Let me ask the other person to throw in $5,000, $10,000. I also do like you do, where I don't negotiate points or half points or whatever. I start talking about dollars because I know the value of a dollar could be a tenth of a point.
Right, and it doesn't relate.
Or there are 22 basis points of a point.
You guys got that, right? When you're talking commissions percentage, it doesn't relate as well as how much money I'm throwing in.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say I'm going to reduce my commission by 0.3875.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, what the fuck does that mean, right?
And when-
0.183639, you know, reduction. Like, nobody understands that. But when you start negotiating that, now that allows you at the time that you're negotiating the deal to maybe throw in a little bit of commission. The buyer's happy, the seller's happy, if the buyer feels like they got a great deal, and if you deliver the $4 million or the $3,975,
Right.
you got your full commission.
Right, and
Right, but you negotiate it afterwards, not at, at the time that you actually finish it,
Yeah.
or sometimes at the renegotiation point,
right.
right?
And
So
the-
you throw in the $5,000.
And the perfect thing of what you're saying again is that when you go into it, if you could establish your fee and leave it that, and say, look, if we have to work through things, I'll work with you. My job is to bring a deal together. Okay, I'm not going to get in the way. We're going to bring the deal together. So leaving it where it is, yes, if you can avoid, but I'm taking it down all levels of what you can do to start off and establish that 6. Okay, because I'm telling you, I work with a lot of competitors that anybody would say, oh, they're top of their game, and I get the deal, I get above. I don't really feel that I lose listings on this issue. Now, there are times where I'll take it for less, but guess what? When they do come back, and if the price isn't established, and I'm at a certain fee, then I have the dialogue, well, I already kicked in $20,000. And it's factual. I kicked in from what I normally get, 20 grand. And it's understanding, yeah, I already helped. I already started this process because you've asked me to. I wanted to work with you, but I've already kicked in that. So it helps with that understanding as well. And going into the game, like I said, there's going to be more respect, more appreciation of your value when you're saying, I'm at 6, and even if you took it at 5. And I really don't think you should be taking anything less than that. Yeah?
Brian, first of all, thank you so much for doing this
Sure.
and for all of us.
Yeah.
Sharing your insight. I was thinking about this before. Now, I just wanted to have you share, because I really do believe that the agency has a brand of itself, and we are unique and special because we are truly a luxury company.
Right.
We're a luxury company.
Right.
So we have already, presented ourselves in that benchmark, right?
Yes.
So from your perspective, being a veteran and like doing so many transactions at high volume, what are your like highlights of coming from where you came from to coming to the agency?
Okay,
Say,
sure.
You know what, I'm utilizing
Yeah.
these tools that maybe you guys have,
Yeah.
you're not using.
Yeah, well, for anybody who's on streaming, I don't know if they heard you, but the question was, where's the agency value proposition over me from what I've experienced with other companies? A few of the things, like I've asked, there's things coming from, first off, the connectivity and working. Like, I mean, being embraced by Mauricio and some of the other guys when I'm dealing with listings, just wholeheartedly working collaboratively, like instantaneously with me, and just being very open with everything, anything that would help was at my fingertips. That's top down, and that's the whole energy I see in the company. When in the office, when everybody gets a listing, it's kind of like everybody rallies around it in their own way. It's not. It's like if they got somebody, it's being out there, it's being dialogued, and you're pulling in. Like I said, if you gather one extra buyer, and you got multiples because of that, we've done incredible value to that owner. And some of the things, like even technologically, like I've asked them to help out with some things, components, like I'm trying to create a link to something to do, aspect, they took care of it all. It's just, and then when you have like good Connect and all those elements of how that system works, I mean, like every time I'm having a listing that's coming up, it's going in there and that access is there for you guys to pull from. If we have the higher level, being able to connect to those people and talking to the people who work in the company, who have those connections that could get us to the person who might be a person that buys that property and never would have noted the property before because they're not in the mainstream of looking on the internet or having somebody work on their behalf. I just find that whole energy, the connectivity and the process, because in the past, a lot of it was driven by the company, okay? Everything was the company, and then other companies got to where it's the agent doing their, like, satellite things, okay? I find the agency keeps that energy, that the agent's free to be that entrepreneur, but they put it under the umbrella that it blossoms them and encourages them and builds them up. That's the energy I feel, and it's what's happening. I have no roadblocks. If I want something new to come forth, I have all the input, even myself after 30 years, I still have all the input and all the directions that help me make it even better. So that's my take on it.
Going back to the sliding scale, or when you're talking to a seller, this is what we believe is going to be the value. If I do manage to push the price higher to what you expect, or the market value is
Yeah.
whatever, we're going to get paid ourselves. But
Yeah.
what happens when the seller actually, their expectation is much higher? Let's say he's expecting $5 million, and that is probably a 4 or 5.
Well, then you got to debate whether you want to list it. If it's a property you're not gonna be able to sell, what does it matter what commission you take, right? Am I reading that
Right,
right?
but it
But
could
if
be
he
a
wants
process,
5 million,
right?
yeah, if he wants a too high of a price, again, at some point you decide some other factors. If there's not a reasonability, I mean, I would, the bottom line is, every listing's not worth taking.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, again, it's just that, I know it's hard, like you guys, like again, if you don't have a lot going on, to go in that direction with it, but again, be cautious of what you're taking on. Because is it more valuable to avoid a listing and work towards one that's gonna be good, and all the systems are working, and then you're able to move that property, or stick with one that you're gonna carry for a year, 2 years, not sell it, end up getting it thrown to somebody else, and then you spend all this time and money taking away your attention from where you could be really productive. So that's what I think. And again, I do wanna say that, what I would point out, again, the level of what I also see marketing-wise in the direction of how things are presented and prepared, all those elements, this is 6%. Every one of you, if you're with the company, that alone to me is a 6%. So I want to point that, yes.
Oh, but you usually offer the other side.
It's 2.5,
So you do 3.5.
always 2.5, always 2.5. Yeah.
Do you put the sliding scale scenario in writing when you're sitting?
Yes. If it goes to that, I put it in writing. I love Mauricio's comment to say, use money. Okay, I tell you what, I'll lower my commission by 5,000, 10,000. Very good.
Say
Very good.
If you get full price, you get another 6%.
Mhm.
If you get 10% less than full price, you.
Yeah.
So your commission is decreased by 10,000.
Right, whatever you establish, you can go increments of course, hang on, but you can go percent, however you want. I do like the idea of putting $1 to it, because it's real clear to the owner. Yep.
What are your dual agency strategies?
Oh, good, thank you.
Because I noticed you.
Thank you for bringing that up. There's a lot of people going at it like this. Oh, if I sell it myself, I'll do it 3.5, I'll do it 4. Now, if it's off market, I'm not gonna talk about that. That's different when you're dealing with developer or things. Just know that if you take less than, to me, 5%, you should really start thinking about the fact that, especially if it's off market, that you're only gonna represent one side. Because your legal liability should not be carried to 2 people when you start going under 5. That's just my philosophy on it. But I don't agree with people saying, I'll take it at 4, I'll take it at 3.5 if I end up selling it myself. You should be saying my commission's 6%, and then if you wanna go and somebody says, give me something, then maybe you go to 5% if you double end it, okay? So is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, I was
What
gonna say, do you
Yeah.
go even less than, you go incrementally? Would you be talking about, I'll give you a quarter off or half off?
Exactly, yes,
Dual
and that's
agency?
exactly how you should approach it. I'm saying at the worst case, the lowest end should be at least 5, because you're representing both parties. You have legal liability to both, you know what I mean? There's a lot going on that you have to be cognizant of. Yeah, Doug?
We've all had experience with sellers who want a certain number, and at the end of the day, a buyer's willing to pay what a buyer's willing to pay for it. And then they start looking at us as, well, I'm having to take a hit on this, I'm having to discount my price below where I want it, and then there's that expectation that we're gonna participate as well. And there have been many cases in my life where I've actually sat with that seller and we've calculated out how much less they're actually taking from the price that they wanted, and doing it in a percentage, where it's often 1%, 2%, 5% less than what they were looking for. And I've often said when they've looked at me, well, I'm a partner in this with you. I'm happy to participate. You're taking 5% less, I'll take 5% less in my commission. And if you do the math on what 5% less off of 2.5 or 3% is, it's minimum, as opposed to taking a 0.5 point cut, 3/4 of a point cut. There are so many different ways to approach discounting in the moment when you have to. It's not good to do it in the beginning. Save it for later, so that you have a card to play potentially, and it's not negotiating your commission down before you even started to prove your worth, as Brian said. Save it.
Yeah, and again, thank you, Doug. Any way that you dialogue differently to establish your value. And again, I would imagine it's just gonna elevate your game, elevate everything. It's all that putting it out there, right? It elevates everybody around you and everything you're doing. And it gives you more flexibility to be that generous person if you feel like you wanna be.
Just
sellers ever ask why you're giving 2.5 to the buy side and taking 3.5 to the sell side?
I have, rarely, to be honest with you, but the answer is factually that I'm spending all the money.
Right.
But, and people could argue if you work with buyers agents, you know what I mean? They'll say, we have to work with buyers, but there's a lot invested in the knowledge of the property. It's all on you as the listing agent. The buyer's agent isn't going to be the one held more accountable to knowing the ins and outs of that property. You're, again, doing a lot of the marketing, and that could go where if it's an unsuccessful sale, you lose that money. So I haven't had that as a big issue. That's usually, that I explain it to them because that is what I believe. That is why I started doing it years ago. And so, and everybody could do it differently. You could offer up 3% if you want. You could cut it, say I'm gonna take 3, and you offer the other side 3. I mean, that's the incentive. If I was gonna do something like that, I'd rather offer a bonus, because again, the dollar amount is more attractive to people, even agents. If you say, hey, there's a $10,000, even if they were gonna get an extra half a point, and that equated to a $15,000, it's gonna be more powerful to see a message that says $10,000 bonus.
Right.
If you sell this, and then you put a date in on it. But I haven't had pushback really on that. I haven't. Yeah.
I think agents just need to decide one way or another. Am I going to be a 6% agent? If they're a 6% agent, I think that they will become a better agent because their standards will be higher. And I think you'll always find an opportunity to have an exception. Well, I sold this person, their previous client, or it's a neighbor or a friend. There's always going to be an exception. Correct. To drop the commission.
Correct, and you said it very well. Absolutely, yeah. And when you're saying like a 6% agent, what I would say is that you value yourself enough, and you know what you can bring to the table, and then that's how you start. But absolutely, it'll help to continue to make you a better agent. You're going to enjoy the business more. You're going to feel better about the fact that you really take incredible care of the clients that you're dealing with, and the ones that don't value you. It's okay. You don't want to be doing business with people who don't value you.
And the difference in money at the end of the year, if you ever look to see what 3.5 and 2.5 is, it's insane.
Yeah, well, it's a huge difference. Again, if you look at even the chart here, it's the difference of $100,000. Let's say if you made 250 at the 2.5, that's your average, and instead you had the average at 3.5, that'd be 100,000, 350,000, right? You guys ever think about that? Now I'm getting some starry-eyed looks. It's a big difference. Yes.
I was just going to chime in about all this, is that it's a confidence. You kind of have to know your worth. We're in sales. You should know that like he said, the value you're bringing, but then pitch it that way. Don't be so quick to cower down just because they talk about other people doing this or that. You're not other people. And that's kind of how you have to go into it, with that confidence. Yeah. Because that makes all the differences in people believing it. When you actually have the facts, you're prepared, and you practice it.
Yeah.
We're the agency, you can collaborate, you can kind of even role play with people if you need to, until you get that confidence where it just comes second nature. Like, it's not an objection anymore. It's like, okay, I'm ready to handle that.
Yes, sir.
It's, like you're saying, I say a mantra in my head: in business, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate.
Yeah.
And I'm also in the agency Los Cabos, where it's an 8% commission.
Wow.
Yeah.
So think about fighting for 6%. You got to fight for 8% down there.
Right.
So I think we should all go down to boot camp down to Cabo, because if you can get 8, then you can get 6 over here.
Yeah. And at the right times, exactly. And like I said, at the times, I'll get 10, I'll get 9. Okay. Those are occasions where otherwise I just, depends on the circumstance, then I don't do the deal.
I've always used a lot of times the line that look in their eyes. I said, okay, if I drop off just because you asked, what do you think? How easily will I drop your asking price and push you to accept that that's the best price? So do you want an agent who's strong, believes can do the job for you, and will be strong enough to negotiate and get you the price that you want, versus somebody who's willing to say, oh, you want 4.5? Okay, I'll take it, because they throw it to not the 4.5%, they throw the commission, the entire commission. They don't even look that you just get about half of it.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna wrap it up.
It's the strengths that, and we have to be ready to walk away.
Yeah.
You have to be ready and strong strong enough to walk away if then sell it. You know what, it's a listing that probably will not sell
Right.
anyway, because let's sell it just enough appreciating to them. It's just another agent who makes a lot of money.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap it up, guys. Did you have some? Okay. All right, we'll wrap it up. But listen, I hope you guys are energized, ready to rock and roll out there. If you need to reach me, I'm in the Brentwood office. Be more than happy to touch base with you if you need to dialogue on anything. Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm not examining it, it's like, so, it's just great. People,
Right.
seems like you're gonna get back to them in 2 seconds.
I was
Yeah.
telling Brian, what I find a lot of agents, it's hard once you get that first escrow to juggle the prospecting part. Like
Yeah.
your whole world is like fixated
Yeah.
on, I gotta remember this, but you can't, you have to find the time. And like, he always preaches like block scheduling, you have to, no matter what, just like continue doing your prospecting. Still sit the